When leaders talk about AI transformation, one of the most reactions you see is we need to hire AI talent. But that's usually not the right starting point.
Yeah, 100%, because every organization already has people who understand the business, and that should be the starting point.
Welcome to AI and the Executive Table, the podcast where AI meets real-world decisions. I am Kenza.
And I'm Amanda, and our aim is to move beyond the hype and have a thoughtful lens around the opportunities AI creates.
In this episode, we will be focusing on talent and how to mobilize talent within the organization. Amanda, a lot of companies start with recruitment when they kick off their AI transformation. As a CHRO, why do you think that this might not always be the right decision?
It's definitely not the right decision because you already have the most valuable asset, your people. So let's firstly talk about the domain expertise. You have employees that understand customers, they understand the operations, and they understand how the interlinkages work. So this is a great starting point. Secondly, we know from the Edelman Trust Barometer that internal employees trust peers much more than external consultants. And then when it comes to speed and the adoption of technologies, individuals internally work together better as one rather than bringing in external expertise all the time. And lastly, there's a cultural angle here because, evidence shows that transformations fail not because of technology, but because people haven't been brought along the journey. So you must start with your internal resources, your most valuable assets, people.
Okay, although I need to challenge you a little bit here because when I listened to you, I had the feeling, okay, you can manage such a transformation only relying on your internal workforce and keeping the consultants out. I'm not so sure about that because I think there is an interesting perspective you can get from the outside, but maybe we can talk about that.
Yeah, but 100%,
later.
of course, there is a time and place and a need for external expertise because not every organization will have that yet.
Okay, so the starting point should be to leverage the workforce that you have because of the domain expertise, the culture, the trust, the collaboration that is rather possible because people know each other and they have been working along together. But how do we mobilize all of this? We do use this term, AI literacy, but I have the feeling everybody understands this in a different way.
So Kenza, I think there's three levels to this. Firstly, there's that executive understanding. You have a C-suite that really understand the cues and are articulating that clearly to the organization. Secondly, the business expertise. So there needs to be an encouragement of exploration and trial and error. And I think that is something that needs to be put into the culture of the organization. And then lastly, there's that purely technical expertise. But I think the way I need to summarize this is not everyone needs to be a data scientist, but what everyone needs to think about is where AI can be leveraged, when it can be leveraged, and what are the opportunities.
We have three dimensions here: the leadership one, the operational one, and the technical one.
Yeah.
So in your experience, where do companies get it wrong?
I think where organizations often get it wrong is they treat AI literacy like a training program rather than an actual business capability that needs to be enterprise-wide. So I think the first thing is it gets too technical. It's everyone needs to go on a training program and everyone needs to have these 3 courses under their belt. You've had that experience, right?
Yes, I do, and I must say some of them are helpful because they help people. It's like life hacks basically.
Yeah.
So you get some benefits of how you can get your
co-pilots and
work more efficiently on a day-to-day basis.
But I think the other thing that can often hinder progress is that the AI development is often disconnected from the day-to-day work. And I think that's also a problem because people don't see progress in real time.
Well, I mean, there's a lot to it to see
Yeah.
that progress.
Yeah.
But I do agree, if you see the benefit on your daily work, then the motivation to learn and to experiment will go higher.
And I think one thing you can't underestimate, Kenza, is having leadership from the top actively talking about this, even writing about it in a kind of, all staff memo that we've put AI here now, and this is increased or helped efficiencies. That kind of positive reinforcement, I think, creates a really strong case. And often you're not hearing that from senior leaders. They're just handing it off to the IT department, for instance.
Yes, this reminds me of a situation where our CFO last time said, he's using Copilot, to summarize all the emails and then from the threads. And that was actually an interesting observation, because I think people listening didn't expect him to use AI. But so I get your point. Their perspective changed after that, because even him is using it.
Yeah,
So,
it sets the tone, right?
That's right.
And I think the last mistake is that most organizations, they underestimate the speed of adoption. Adoption takes time, change takes time, and I think you need a number of ways to create excitement around AI.
You have different adoption maturities within one organizations, and that's another thing you need to consider. It's not going to be one program fit for everybody, but you have to slice the elephant at the end. So starting with the first level, the leadership experience, what is or literacy, what is really important there is to support the decision making.
Yeah.
So it's important to understand how AI is impacting the business, how it is impacting, let's say, your top line. Your customer interface might change. Probably you're selling in a B2B space, and then the procurement on your customer side will be automated, which means that interaction between your salespeople and the procurement will change, because they don't have counterparts anymore as human beings. They will be dealing maybe with a machine, and the negotiations will be only based on price. So how to navigate those changes in the markets with the customer interfaces, and at the same time in the production side, let's say, so along your value chain, everything will change. There's a lot of expectation on your profit margins, obviously. There's expectation that you raise the efficiency internally to create more profit. And how to deal with those expectations, and what are the decisions that need to be made to get there. This is the focus of the AI literacy for the executive level. And then there's the operational level, where you also said AI needs to be near the daily business.
Yeah.
Because at the end, this is where the efficiencies come from, and they will only come if everybody knows what it means for their work, if automation is along the value chain processes, and if we're making the lives of the employees easier, obviously. So here the focus is more on the processes and the workflows, and on improving those workflows.
Well, that was really thorough explanation, and I think it shows us that AI literacy is not just one volume, it's different levels and at different depths.
Absolutely, Amanda. So how do we create momentum to get people excited about the transformation and get some momentum?
Yeah, because you're right, there is fear and there is concern about job security, etc. So I do think you have to go in with a really positive momentum. And if I think back, some years, it was all about innovation sprints. It was all about hackathons. It was all about, let's have a innovation week. We should be morphing that into AI. So having cross teams working on cross AI projects, having AI innovation weeks, and really focusing on AI as the big transformer in the organization.
I think one point you mentioned is really important in my point of view, that co-creation part and
Yes.
also the collaboration across silos.
Yes.
And especially in big organizations, you cannot avoid having silos. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just a way to manage resources.
Yeah.
Per se, it's not negative, but what you need to make sure is that people across silos work together and share experiences. And
That's right.
you mentioned hackathons as
Yeah.
an example.
Yeah.
It is an event where people from different departments come together. At least if you
Yeah.
organize that internally, what experience do you have
Yeah.
with those kind of formats?
Well, I mean, I think we touched on it before, but I think having AI champions or people in the organization that have already started working on this, being vocal, bringing up people together, doing lunch and learns, having a much more, let's say, AI fluency in the organization is something I think that really grows organically, and people start seeing it on their internal intranet. They start to see new developments, and that's what creates the excitement and creates the FOMO of, oh, I want to be involved in that. So I think that is also one way of doing it. But I think we cannot underestimate when AI adoption actually happens and the efficiency that is created in people's jobs. That's the true litmus test.
That's right, and you reminded me of one situation I'd really love to talk about. We had, while I was working for Deutsche Telekom many years ago, we organized a hackathon, AI hackathon.
Yeah.
And one of the colleagues that joined a team was from the HR department, and she got so excited.
No HR bashing, okay?
No, I haven't started yet. No, it was actually something positive. And she was, she had the team with a computer scientist, two data scientists, and they developed an AI solution for HR. But the good point was she had the domain expertise.
Yes.
So she knew the workflows and the recruiting process. And she brought that domain expertise in the team, and they actually won the first prize. But the real story behind it is that she got so much excited about AI and data analytics just from this hackathon,
Yeah.
that she started learning coding, and actually she did a career shift. So
wow.
right now she is a people manager of computer scientists, and I thought that is a really good example how you get this co-creation and collaboration in hackathons, and it might even lead to people shifting careers and upskilling, and because of inner motivation, because they had this experience, and then they realized, oh wow, I could be good in this, and it's exciting, and you don't need to push them anymore, right?
Yeah.
They just follow this path by themselves. So
Yeah.
those formats are actually really helpful. I can only support that. Now, how do we add this expertise maybe with some external perspective?
Yeah.
Working with some partners, creating an ecosystem. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel by yourself. How, in your experience, is it a good way to include startups, partners, and work with the ecosystem?
Yeah, 100%. Because I think partnering with universities, laboratories, other organizations that are already advanced just helps the momentum. Of course, you're going to get information exchange, but also it just furthers the journey into the transformation. So I think, I can't recommend enough having partnerships. And I think about even years ago when I was at JP Morgan, one of my first organizations, we already had started partnering with a number of universities around our JP Morgan lab. And I think those are fantastic opportunities to get particularly early career talent involved as well.
So you work with partners to get their talents from them.
A little bit of that as well, you know.
So it's more of a recruiting
Well, you know,
exercise.
the talents of the CHRO are multiple.
It's true, it's true. So basically, if we want to summarize the AI literacy framework, we shouldn't keep it too technical. I mean, technical is important. We should place it near to the daily job so that people see the benefits of the technology on their daily jobs. The leadership needs to set the tone and experiment themselves and talk about it. And we need to focus on that collaboration piece and co-creation with the internal workforce and expanding that with the ecosystem. So after that summary, Amanda, if leaders should take away one thing from this episode, what should it be?
AI transformation starts with the people inside the organization who know the organization.
Thank you, Amanda. And see you in the next episode where we will be focusing on attracting talent from the outside. So tune in.